All right, 10:05. Welcome to Chicago Now. We have a fun
Chicago
show.
Now.
I'm surrounded by a couple beautiful blondes. Oh, we're gonna have a let's
Wow,
talk
that
about.
was.
Yeah.
And
That was a great intro.
Yeah,
You know?
I guess Jake and I do have that in common.
You do, and the
Well,
blue eyes. I mean,
yeah,
come on.
we could be brother and sister.
And she would be the sibling that everyone likes, and I'd be the other one.
No, Jake.
Like, you know when you go to some family's house, you can tell who the favorite kid is because they've got one big giant picture and then like a smaller one. Like it'd be like a giant over the fireplace photo of Natalie Bomke, and then like over in the side room there'd be like a little picture on the table of me.
Yeah, right.
He's not wrong.
See? At least she's honest about it.
I'm joking. Okay, Caitlin, what do we
Jake,
got on
you're-
tap?
Yes.
You are a favorite, though.
Thank you.
Because I've heard that you were one of the only, well, actually, the only Chicago
Yeah.
reporter to talk about a movie that's.
Well, it's always nice here at Fox 32. We, I like to brag on behalf of us that we get these really big Chicago exclusives. We're not the only station in town, but oftentimes we are the only station in town to get to talk to these people, which is really great. But yeah, it's a little bit of a flashback. We've been talking a lot about the 90s today, which is fun because that's the era that that I hold fondly in my heart, and one of the reasons why is that as someone who loves scary movies, I loved that late 90s slasher era of horror movies. And if you know what I'm talking about, it kicked off in 96 when Scream came out. And in true fashion, a cheap thing made a lot of money. So what does Hollywood do? They learn all the wrong lessons and they go, cool, we'll do that too. And that led to probably a 5 or 6 year period where every couple of months we got Scream 2, we got Valentine, Urban Legend. It was different mass killers.
Am I not hearing it?
I'm
not
not
hearing
either.
it.
This is all.
I've got IFB in my ear from a completely different show. That's Chicago later that I was hearing in my ear. That's not Chicago Now. So, one of the great things, is, so they're rebooting a lot of these things. We got the Scream cast back together a few years back, and now next week we're getting a reboot of I Know What You Did Last Summer, which was one of the pinnacle kind of slasher movies, but it does bring back two of the surviving OG cast members, Freddie Prinze Jr. and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
And you just spoiled it for me.
Well, no, I mean, if they're back in the new one, it very much implies they survived the other ones. And so they're back in this new one, and I had the chance to sit down with Freddie Prinze Jr. where we kind of reminisced very much about that 90s era of slasher movies, and as a big part of those movies, what he most remembers about them.
Obviously, when that original movie came out, October 17th, 97, Scream had already come out. Scream 2 was just a few months away. We still hadn't gotten Valentine or Urban Legend, but we were very much in the slasher era, the era that I grew up and loved as a kid. I'd love to know what you just remember as an actor about that explosion of slasher movies that came out in the late 90s.
Yeah, every 10 years, horror films kind of evolve, right? And it happens much more quickly than comedies or dramas or action movies or anything like that. And we had just come from a time when horror movies weren't really being respected. And it took Wes to come in and kind of remind people, no, look what you can do with a low budget, but a great script that's character driven with wonderful set pieces. This is Scream. And all of a sudden everybody goes, oh yeah, we can make money on horror movies. And so they started taking swings on other scripts, and they started giving opportunities to other scripts and ideas. And then 10 years later, it starts to getting diluted and the movies aren't as good anymore, and then it has to evolve and change, and all of a sudden Saw came out, which makes our movies not scary anymore. You know what I mean? And kids are like, well, now I've seen this, so now your movie's funny. I remember as a kid thinking Freddy Krueger was terrifying. My friend was like, wait till you see Phantasm, which was 1978, I believe, 79. And right before the 80s started, and I was like, man, this isn't scary, this is funny. But it's because horror evolves so quick. These directors and writers are constantly trying to outperform what inspired them, because you can't scare somebody with the same thing twice. It just doesn't work.
To your point, you mentioned funny. What was your relationship like when Scary Movie came out and it was actively making fun of?
Oh my God, we hit a boat! Where's the foot?
I haven't seen it. I have no. I really only watch horror movies. That's all I've seen. But anytime that your art is successful enough that somebody's going to parody it. I mean, I grew up reading Mad Magazine. That was parody of every movie that ever came out. Then I guess you're doing something right. But I never got to see it. Did they do the sideburns? I think I had the bad sideburns back then.
Whoa.
It concerns me that he made fun of those sideburns, because I used to have those sideburns, and I didn't know it was not cool. I still thought it was cool. I do think it's interesting that he's never seen Scary Movie, which, if you're unfamiliar, was very much a spoof of sort of the horror movies that came out at that time. If someone made like a spoof video of like Good Day Chicago, I'd be first in line to see that. I would love to see that.
And who would play Jake Hamilton?
Oh, I don't know. Depends on if Brad Pitt's available.
Okay.
I mean, you know.
Boy, that
How
would
did
be a
you
fantasy, wouldn't it?
Yeah.